Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Final Girl Series 3. In this video, we will be looking at one of the featured films, both the killer side as well as the location side, all in one video. So it might be a little bit longer. But before we jump in, I just wanted to bring up the fact is I purchased the Ultimate Box, so I have stuff in there that might later on not be included in every other thing in retail release. If you're picking this up outside the outside box, you might not have the miniatures. The Series 1, Series 2, the miniatures, for example, came in separate boxes, and then as you purchase them, you could put them in. And the epic finale cards for our killers also came in a separate, one of the prop boxes instead. For this Ultimate Box, they included that stuff directly in the feature film boxes. So, I don't know if that's their plan for the future is to keep doing that. Or if that was just the Ultimate Box thing. So I'm just going to assume that it's going to follow Series 1 and 2, and they just, for the Ultimate Box purpose, when they packaged everything together, they included all that stuff in there, and then when they actually send these out to retail, those things will not be in there. So, I'll make sure I, just kind of re-mention that again, like, point off which is the epic finale card, as well as the miniatures, won't be in retail sets more than likely. I just wanted to throw that out there ahead of time so I don't have to repeat it again in the middle of every video. Alright, without further ado, let's hop into our feature film for this video. Hey, so for this video, we are going to look at the Marrek Murders, or the Marrek Murder, sorry, I probably pronounced that right. So we're going to have starring the Tormentor and featuring the Marrek Warehouse. So this is a take on Jigsaw, or the Saw movies, with someone dealing death traps that you have to get away from. Plus, having a warehouse as a location is pretty fun as well, because that's, it could be a common thing you escape through in horror movies. So, the Marrek Warehouse is closed for good, traps unsuspecting victims in multiple murders. That's what happened in the fateful day at the Marrek Warehouse. The state-of-the-art exit locks were supposed to keep everyone safe and held the victims inside and unable to escape. The tormentor used devious and ingenious traps to teach their victims what took her so long to learn for herself. Life must be cherished and valued at any cost. To live truthful lives, sacrifices must be made. So this is going to be a very interesting combination of stuff. So let's take a look at the killer's board to begin with. The Tormentor. Also nice that we're getting a female killer. We don't have a lot of them. I do like the representation there. Not just because they're like, oh, you have to have... No, just females can be killers too, right? So only 3 horror, but 7 health. So not super terrible there. A little bit smaller bar than some of the other ones. Because she's going to probably let her traps and stuff like that do the killing versus her doing it herself. Yeah, she only does up to 3 damage at the end, only has 2 movements. She's not doing a lot of stuff herself. Again, that's the whole point. There's a little trap symbol up there as well. So let's take a look at the rule book. Excuse me. Alright, so it says, when I first discovered this thing, all that was left was gore and viscera. The intricate and devious nature of the traps was, well, none of us could believe it. Douglas Berlin, crime scene investigator. Yeah, so that's cool. So we have 3 finale cards, 3 dark power cards, 1 epic dark power card, and then we'll have our epic dark finale card added in here as of the Ultimate Edition. We have 2 Final Girls, 16 Terror cards, 17 tokens, but we have 4 Final Girl Death Trap cards and 4 7 Victim Death Trap cards. So that's also fun, because then we have multiple different ones, so you're not going to always be playing as the same one over and over. And then we're going to learn how these all work. So special setup. The Tormentor does not start on the board. As per normal rules, keep the setup card face up in the location above the box for future reference. Keep the remaining setup cards nearby. Don't turn them into the box. Shovel the victim death trap cards and place the deck face down on the player. Do not Do the same for the Final Girl Death Trap cards forming a second deck. Place a victim where the killer would be starting the game in the killer space and resolve the victim death trap card for this victim becoming trapped. The Tormentor. The Tormentor will appear until the finale is revealed. Then the killer actions, move and attack on terror cards are ignored while the Tormentor is not on the board. The effect asks you to place something or count spaces in relation to the killer. Reveal a random setup card, treating the killer space in the setup as a killer space for the purpose of resolving the effect. Then shuffle them back in with the others. Place the killer, ignore the effect. Once the finale has been revealed, the Tormentor will be placed on the board in the beginning of the next killer phase. At the point reveal a random setup card, place the Tormentor in the killer space, indicating a setup card. Tormentor will then proceed from the forward killer action to the finale card, and game thing the Tormentor on the board for the rest of the game. Just kind of a neat mechanic as well. Like, I don't think anyone else has done that. But yeah, the killer doesn't actually appear until later, so you have time to do some other stuff first. It's a nice use of them setup cards. You have 5 of them, so here's an extra way to keep using them. So becoming trapped in a death trap. Death traps will be set when you see one of the following icons, say their victim or final girl. So all devious traps the Tormentor is prepared for you and the victims. When you're required to resolve a death trap, draw a death trap card from the appropriate deck. Then place a matching death trap token in the space of the target indicated and place the target's meeple on the start space of the death trap. The target is now trapped. Trapped subjects are never targeted by Tormented unless specifically noted otherwise. Basically, if they have you in the trap, they're not going to run around and try and kill you as well. They're not going to generally double down on you. Trapped subjects may not move. Ignore all movement effects, including panic, with the exception that you may use movement effects towards requirement of escaping the traps. While trapped, you may not play reaction cards, search, or perform attacks on enemies. The card effect requires you to determine whether a trapped subject is considered to be on the space or the board, refer to the rules ambiguity, determine how best to resolve it. If you're still unsure, then the trapped subject will be off the board for that effect. So if it's saying, like, you need to move this guy somewhere, you can't move them. So if it's going to need you to count that stuff, like, you need to move 3 guys, and you can't move, and you have 4 people in there, you wouldn't be able to move them, move somebody else. If there was only the 2 people on that board and it said move 3, you just pretend they weren't there and you move the only ones until you could move. Processing death traps, so a little icon, which we did see on the killer's board. You did see there's up at the top there, if that gets all the way to the top. When you see the trap exclamation, advance the meeples on the all active death traps to the next space and apply the effects on that trap. For example, if there are 3 trap victims and 2 advanced spaces, with horror, 1 advances to the space. There are 3 trap victims and 2 advanced 2 spaces with horror and 1 advances to space with a 2 time. You increase your horror twice and lose time once. So like there's a card. We'll get them in a little bit here. When a final girl meeple advances to the final space of the death trap, you are killed and immediately lose the game. If you do not reveal your final health token. Don't let that happen. Note, you may lose your final health token before the final space. Your health token is still revealed and is normal. If health is recovered, you remain in the death trap. During a panic phase, victims in a space with a completed death trap will panic, and the upkeep phase, tokens and cards completed death trap are removed from the game. Alright. Oh, I missed a line here. When a victim advances the final space of the death trap noted with a scythe, death trap is complete. The victim is killed. Yes, blood loss increased, and you must fail the results. So basically on here is what's going to kind of show you. You have certain things you want to do to try and complete it. If you complete all 3 of them, great. But if you don't, they're going to keep moving each one over on a meeple each time. Each time they move, activate one of these things. If it gets to the end, they're killed. So you got a little bit of time to do it. Each death trap has a series of tasks you need to be complete to escape. While in the space of the death trap or death trap yourself, you may perform escape tasks. Escape tasks involve spending time doing damage, moving, losing health, etc. Escape tasks must be complete in order from top to bottom. Once the escape task is resolved, mark it with a tracking marker. You can then work resolving the next task depending on remain. While the escape task is complete, the subject has escaped. Place the meatball on the board with the death trap token and remove the token from the game. So I can set that down here. A few things to know about escape tasks. If an escape task requires you to spend time to complete it, and only do so does not cause the marker to go below 0. As long as you are in the same space, any effects, regardless of the source, can be used towards completing the task. Use action cards or item cards to complete tasks does not let you use the effects normally use. If any unused excess from the effect is lost, other effects resulting in an action card item are still applied. For example, if an escape task requires you to move 1 space and you get a double success for sprint that allows you to move 3 spaces, you can use the result to complete move 1 space task, but not using excess towards another escape task or move spaces on the board. However, if you still lose 1 time as part of resolving the effect. So you kind of gotta manage, like, if you only need to move 1 space, you don't maybe necessarily want to play a card that lets you move 3 spaces, because then you're maybe wasting the extra thing. But if that move 3 spaces versus it might be all you have as an action, like sprint versus walk, or it might let you roll more dice, which has a better chance of being successful. So you might need to do it anyhow. You can play multiple cards to complete a task. However, you must fully complete the task before the action phase ends, or your progress will be lost. For example, if you need to complete 2 damage, only be able to do 1 damage, that damage will be wasted when the action phase ends. If you are in a death trap yourself, you may not resolve escape tasks for victim deaths in your space. Work together. If at least 1 untrapped victim is in the space with you, you may add 1 die to your horror rolls when you resolve actions towards completing escape tasks. There are multiple untrapped victims, you can only still apply 1. So if you can bring people with you, then you can help them to escape. Use multiple people to help someone else escape. And then we have down here at the bottom, we have bottoming tarot cards. When you see this icon, card showing up to the bottom of a deck, on a tarot card, you are being instructed to place that card face down on the bottom of the tarot deck. If only card left, or there's an endless group of cards in succession, discard the cards instead. No escape. Finale. The Tormentor will be trying to lock all the door spaces. While a door is locked, no victims may be saved at the exit. Some locations, like a Marrek Warehouse, may have ways to unlock doors. If the locked door becomes unlocked, move the lock token from that space and you'll have to lock it again. So we will be getting 6 lock tokens. So if that pops up, they're going to lock all the doors and you can't get out. So it's kind of an interesting thing, depending on also like what mode you're playing or who you're playing with. It's very interesting. So let's take a look at our death traps first. So on the back of them, we'll have a victim and we'll have final girl. So let's look at the victim traps first. Alright. Oh, camera. Stay. Alright. Let's see if I can get as much of this on here as possible. Infestation box. You have a box filled with venomous spiders, snakes, and other deadly creatures. It's just a matter of time before one bites you. You're going to have to stay very, very quiet and still. So, first, break the lock for 2 damage. Then, open the box for 3 times. Lastly, pull the victim free by moving 1 space. So, with the victims, you have to run over, spend your actions to help them. But then each time that timer goes up, 1 horror, 2 horror, and then they die, and then the horror goes up an additional 2. We have the swinging blades. These swinging blades will slowly lower. You'll have to hope someone saves you in time. First, time the blades with 5 times. Then cut the ropes for 2. Lastly, dive to safety. Move 2 spaces. The drowning tank. The water is rising and you don't think any additional explanation is needed. First, unlatch the tank lid for 5 times. Lastly, pull the victim 3. Move 1 space and 2 times. Yeah, so some of these are a little bit easier than others, but again, so it's also going to be like, this is going to cost you a lot of time if that stuff keeps happening. The reverse bear trap. Find the key and unlock the lock behind your head before it's too late. First, find the key for 4 times. Lastly, unlock the mechanism for 8 times. So, like, if you get to them and you somehow have 8 times, You could do this in one action. Otherwise, it might cost 2 turns, but look, you only get 3 times to do it. So, like, you're gonna have to work on it very quickly. Guillotine. The blade will drop suddenly when the timer reaches 0. Use your head or lose it. First, figure out the mechanisms for 3 times. Lastly, disarm the mechanism for 2 attack or damage and 2 move. Temple drills. There's a power drill on each side of your head inching towards your temples. Figure out the mechanisms for 4 times. Lastly, disarm the mechanism, damage and move 1. And fireworks target. You're surrounded by a massive amount of mortars and rockets. There's a slow fuse, but if you don't escape, they all go boom. I'm almost more concerned about the spikes on the back of the chair. So we have find the fuses 4 times, cut the fuses for 2 damage, untie the victim for 2 times. So that's how you help the victims. And then we have 4 ones for the final girl. So you could get trapped yourself in the razor maze. Escape is easy. Simply crawl through the wire maze. First, move carefully, then move 1 space. Then keep moving for 2 spaces. Then lastly, exit the maze for 1 move space. So it's not too bad to keep moving as long as you can perform a bunch of move actions. But every time when a thing comes up, you're going to lose health until you're dead. The electric cage. The shock power will increase every few minutes until it reaches a deadly voltage. First, find the power source for 2 times, damage the power source for 2 damage, and destroy it for 2. The slicer, my favorite. Reciprocating knives will dismember you piece by piece. First, avoid the knives for taking a damage. And then lastly, dive to safety and move 1 space and take a damage. And then the last one is the super saw. And for my next trick, first spray yourself for 5 and then dive to safety. Move 1 space and take damage. So yeah, the final girl ones you're going to keep taking damage by trying to escape it yourself. The other ones you're trying to help a victim get out. So yeah, very interesting on how all those are. Alright, then we're going to look at the dark powers, which are the bottom cards. So I'm going to try and zoom back up a little bit here. Alright, so you have overkill traps. So when a victim is killed by a death trap, you and each victim in that space take a damage. Unfair traps. For all death traps, escape task requirements are all increased by 1. Horrifying traps. When a victim is killed by a death trap, horror goes up. If you're in the same space, double horror instead, because you had to watch it happen. And then the epic dark power, endless traps. Each time a victim is freed from a death trap, resolve a new victim trap on the first space in a victim. If you lose, if there are no victims left to resolve. Ooh, that's interesting. This is trying to take out multiple people. Alright, and then we have our finale cards. So on the back, all of it's just going to be activated trap actions. Again, she's not moving around necessarily trying to kill you. She's going to keep activating them traps. So here, closest unlocked door and move. So when the Tormentor, so we know escape. When the Tormentor moves her, ends your movement on unlocked door space, place a locked token there. At the start of the killer phase, if all doors are locked, you lose the game. So this is kind of neat. So she's going to still let them traps go, but then it's like, basically, it's like, they're kind of showing in the picture. It's like, oh, you ran out of time. So even if you had escaped, you know, if you could potentially escape it, like the trap doesn't kill you, we're going to lock all the doors anyhow. And you're not going to get out. And this is very reminder of the end of the first Saw. Like the one guy escapes and then they come back and the other guy's still in there and they're like, oh, well, you couldn't have got, even if you could get out, we don't care, and they lock the door on him. Just kind of cool. Game over. Double traps, targets 1, moves, attacks, target 1, moves, and attacks. So they're basically like, nope, we're done. Like, we're just finishing you off. If the trap doesn't kill you, I'm going to find you and kill you myself. The ultimate trap. When revealed, if you are not currently in a death trap, resolve the final girl death trap. The Tormentor considers you as a valid target for movement and can attack you even when you are in a death trap. So move, target, and double attack. And then the epic finale one is no rest for the weary. You may no longer resolve rest cards. So trigger a trap, target the final girl, move 3 times, and attack 3 times. So yeah, so by the time the finale card comes up, the Tormentor's basically like, okay, you aren't learning your lesson from your traps. I'm just gonna come in and finish you off. That's kind of the idea of that. Alright, so who are our final girls? We have Cassie. So 5 health. Take a sprint card, move 1 space, heal. Take a distraction card, move 1 space, and reduce horror. Her ultimate ability is you may spend 6 times double the damage from your next attack, including damage from weapon modifiers. You cannot use this ability for action cards, or if you would take your time below 0. Ooh. So basically just a final mega attack. And then we have Mandy, 6 health, gains a health, gains a time, reduce horror, move a space, and move a space. And she has add double attack to the attacks made with a weapon or an item. You cannot use its reaction abilities. So these are both kind of neat ones. So they're like basically a way if you like a character lets you do a lot of extra damage. So either one spends time to double their damage, or one does it if you make an attack without a weapon or an item. So depending on what maybe area or what killer you're playing in, might be better suited for each one. Alright, then we have our horror or our terror cards. Alright, so let's zoom back out just a bit here. We have Let's Play a Game. We have 2 copies of that. No victims, draw another card. A victim matches. The first applicable condition is now trapped. Is in the or the shop. I keep forgetting what they call it, the shop spaces. Furthest from you is in a space adjacent to you, or the first space. And then we have 2 copies of You Don't Deserve to Live. Same, basically the same thing. No victims, draw next one. And then this means we're looking for victims are trapped if they're in a exit space furthest from you, in an exit space, in a space adjacent to an exit space, or a space furthest from you. And then we have 3 copies of Help, I'm Trapped. If you're trapped, discard and draw a new terror card. You are now trapped, the final girl card. 2 copies of Live or Die. There are no victims on the board. Discard, draw a new terror card. Victim in the space with the most victims, if tied for the first, is now trapped. You have no respect for life. If no victims are trapped, put this card in the bottom of the deck and draw the next terror card. All panic all untrapped victims in the space of the death trap. If you're in a space of the death trap victim, you panic and gain an attack or take the damage. If no one is panicked, bloodlust goes up. 2 copies of Tick-Tock, Speed Up the Clock. If no victims are trapped, which is on the bottom, draw the next terror card. Otherwise, move the trap activation up. We have to help. There are no victims on the board. Discard and draw the next terror card. Otherwise, all victims move 1 space towards the nearest death trap. There are no death traps in play. Horror goes up. And then the last 2 are Faulty Construction. If no one is trapped, put this on the bottom. Choose a death trap in play. Mark next escape top as complete without having fulfilled the build requirements, and then Bloodlust goes up 1. Yeah, so that's pretty cool as well. And then we do have tokens here for all our different death traps. So you know which spot on the board belongs to which death traps, you know which one you're trying to complete and get rid of. Yeah, so it's a very interesting gameplay mode. Because yeah, the killer's not, up until the finale pops out, which they don't have a really big board, so it's going to pop out sooner than later. But yeah, they're just trying to do these death traps. It gives you a different thing to do with the killer. It's almost like something more like a location effect, but it's with a killer. So it's kind of a cool idea. And then we'll have to definitely see how well that works with the warehouse. It's going to be very interesting. Alright, then we have our secret envelopes. So if you're not familiar, just give you extra items that you can get by winning the game with them. So we have Mandy's chainsaw. These will be upgraded versions of usually items located in the location part. So who's laughing now? 0 range does 3 damage. The chainsaw may not be used to modify reaction cards. You may not use this weapon until you use 2 health to cut off your hand and attach the chainsaw to your arm. Oh, that's it. So it's Army of Darkness, Evil Dead. That's kind of cool. That's why it's a one-handed weapon, but it does 3. But yeah, then it's also interesting because Mandy's ability is attacks made without a weapon have double damage. So then giving her ultimate weapon doesn't even help her out that much. And then for Cassie, we have Cassie's axe. Run. All of you. So two-handed does 2 damage. Immediately reveal Cassie's ultimate ability. When you move in the space of the victim, they panic. Interesting. So it's kind of like she's just like, I'm taking out whoever. So like nobody wants to be near her. What does the axe say? For the foe. So I'm not sure if that's a reference I don't understand. Alright, then the last thing we have for the killer box is we have our miniature. So here's the Tormentor. Got a chain laying on the ground. And a power drill. Very cool. Alright, let's hop into the location side. Alright, for our location we have the Marrek Warehouse. Supply cage, receiving area, and manager's office. So this is a very interesting one. So it has all these red spaces, which are shelving. You can see there's a lot of moving around between everything. So you have some of the maps and locations, which are like you have to go around in a circle, or you have one path that leads to this, or maybe some that lead to a center which spreads out. This one, pretty much every area is somewhat accessible to everything else. The supply cage is kind of broken off by itself. And the main entrance has just a couple little attachments there, and this one's off by itself. Same thing as these outlining ones, each have only one each. Make them a little bit harder to get to. But everything else in the middle, like this one goes there, goes there, goes there, goes there, goes there. So everything else is kind of there. And the pit uses Panic uses 2 dice, so it can go a lot more different areas. Yeah, so very interesting. What definitely what all that stuff is. So let's take a look at our rules for this location. And a little story as well. The locking system of the Marrek Warehouse is state-of-the-art and the first of its kind. Devised by our ingenious mechanical engineers, the system ensures precise shift changes and security. Luxtracel Inc. spokesperson during the ribbon cutting ceremony of the Marrek Warehouse. So the idea is supposed to be in here. This is like their warehouse that's super secure. You can't break the lock type of thing. You're going to lock down. No one's going to be able to get in. But what they didn't plan for is there would be a killer inside with people who would then use it to keep them from getting out. So we had 12 various tokens, 16 item cards, 8 terror cards, 2 action cards, 10 event, and 5 setup. So nothing egregiously brand new in here. Like no extra big special mechanics. For the setup, we're going to place the forklift, which just has a little forklift icon, in the pit space. It'll only be used if you find the forklift keys item card. Place the lock location on each of the spaces. So we are going to get 3 locks. So they're going to go in each of the big circles on the board. So they're kind of showing where they can be locked off. Set aside the 3 clicked terror cards before setting up the terror deck as normal. After the terror deck is set up, set aside your top 2 cards and shuffle the 3 click terror cards with your remaining terror cards in the deck. Return the 2 set-aside cards from the deck. Place the climb and lead options on the tab below. This basically sets it up so you know that the first 2 cards won't be these click cards, but then anything after that could be. This just has a one-sided sheet here. So we have special rules. The warehouse has been locked by the killer. When exit is locked, no victim may be saved at that exit. The spaces themselves can be moved into, but the victims will have to find ways to unlock the exits or wait for an automatic timer to click terror cards to open them. When exit becomes unlocked, discard the lock token from that space. Rack spaces, we call them red ones. These spaces represent the top of the warehouse's storage rack. Unless noted on a card or effect, enemies and victims can move to and from the spaces normally. So yeah, they're on there, but they don't normally have doesn't have a problem with them going between them. Leap and climb actions. These cards are like other actions, except they cannot be acquired by the normal way. Instead, at any time during the action phase, you may discard a walk to take a climb or leap card, or discard a sprint to take a climb and leap card. Climb, you'll have to use a climb to move under an adjacent rack space. Victims may follow you when using the climb. You may not use the climb to move out of a rack space. Instead, simply use normal move actions, walk, sprint, so do so. Leap. Use a leap to jump from one rack space to another. Victims may follow you when you leap. If you fail the leap action, you'll end up on the ground. Victims following you do not suffer damage. They just climb down the rack into your space to see if you're okay. Yeah, so how this kind of works, just kind of take a quick look at that. So, if a killer has to move from here to here, wherever, they can just walk normal. Just assume they know how to climb and everything. Same thing with the victims. If they panic, they're just going to go. You're the only one that actually has special rules for that. Which kind of seems a little backwards. It seems like everyone else should have like a special hindrance possibility. But I guess it's just to keep the having a bunch of extra dice rolls for everything. But yeah, so if you need to get up into here, you need to climb up to it, but to go down, you can move normally. But you can get the leap action, which will let you jump from one to the other. There's only the 4 spaces, but the fact that it can let you get across the board a little bit quicker can definitely be a little bit more helpful. And then finally on the bottom here, we have the pit. The workers in the warehouse call this area in the middle of the warehouse the pit. When attacking someone from the space, roll 2 dice instead of 1 to determine their direction. So very simple. Cool. So let's look at our 2 action cards here. So as long as we're talking about those, we have Climb. Melee played when adjacent to a red rack space. 2 stars, move to the adjacent rack space, lose a time. 1 star, move to an adjacent space, but lose 2 time. Red, or no, if you all misses, take damage, return this card to your hands. You failed to climb, but you hurt yourself. If I could just get up there. And this is discard a walk to take this, or discard a sprint to take this and the leap. And then we have the leap action. May only be used next to it. Move directly to another rack space, lose a time. Or move to it, lose 2 time. Or you must move 1 space and take 2 damage. I can make it. So it's kind of a fun extra little mechanic. That's only going to ever be usable in this map. I don't believe there's any other maps that have rack spaces. So they never ever make sense to use outside of this match. Alright, let's look at our setup cards. And we're going to zoom down just a bit here. Units per hour. So everyone kind of spread out a little bit. Unloading. Killer starts on top of one of the racks. You start on top of another one. Shift change. Daily huddle. I like that one. Everyone starts in the middle and you have 2 people up in the supply cage. And then you're fired. So everyone's a little bit spread around again. Cool. We have events. So I always love the events. We have the supervisor. What are you 2 doing in there? Are those packing peanuts? Place the supervisor and 2 new victims in the supply cage. When the victims in the supervisor's space, roll 1 die and move all victims, including the supervisor, according to the results. So he's basically walking them around. Cool. Trucks are here. I hear it's VRG shipment. Let's get on Van Ryder Games shipment. Company, the game company that makes this. Place one new victim on each unloading dock. If either loading dock or both spaces are locked, place the afflicted victims near the locked spaces out of play. The victim entered play and the space becomes unlocked. Oh, that's kind of neat. So, if the doors are locked, they just kind of sit outside, and then they wait for you. Oh, wait, you unlock the door finally. Let me in. Which, if you've worked anywhere in retail, or places like shipping and stuff, the vendors have to just sit outside until someone opens the door. Help on the racks. Clyde keeps asking us for help up on the racks. Panic all victims in spaces adjacent to red spaces. Only move them to space where they panic into a red space. Repeat this process until these two victims have moved on to red spaces, or until there are no victims in spaces adjacent to them. You aren't going anywhere. How are we going to get out of here? All unlocked spaces now locked again. Return all locked tokens to the unlocked spaces. Remove all quick terror cards from the discard pile and shuffle them back in the terror deck. It has been 0 days since. Did you hear it happen to George? Whenever a victim is in a rack space, panics to a normal space, it is killed. Oh, because it falls off. That's funny, but I did it. Good old Zip. Hello, Zip. Replace the victim that is furthest from the killer, Zip. While Zip is with you, you may treat exit spaces as unlocked. If Zip is killed, Bloodlust goes up 1. Heroic Best Friend. I'll save you. Replace the victim of your choice with the best friend. The best friend cannot be saved unless there are no other victims on the board. If you take damage and the best friend is in your space or adjacent space, then they move to your space and take the damage instead. Scatter. Run, run, run for your lives. Panic all victims. Tumbling boxes. There were severed heads in the boxes. Place the 4 severed head tokens in 4 different non-adjacent spaces. Do not place them on rack spaces. When you move to a space with a token, horror goes up and then remove it from play. So yeah, we will get the 1 on this one and then the 3 there. And then we have Smarter Than They Look. The door is open. Go, go, go. When a exit space becomes unlocked, you may save any victims on the space, even if you are not there. Take the victim save benefits at the start of the next action phase. That's kind of cool. Alright, then we have some items. We're going to start with the forklift keys. Pull this lever, push that lever. You may not use a forklift. The forklift may move with you, but may not enter shop spaces or rack spaces. Well, with the forklift, you may spend time to safely move a victim to an adjacent rack space of your choice. Oh, that's kind of neat. So they can be on. You can raise them up and put them up on top of a space. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything else. But that's still neat. Megaphone. Can you hear me now? Once per action, you may move any one victim on first 1 space. Then all enemies move towards the victim. Or towards the final girl, sorry. Trash can lid. Bang, hey, boom, stop that, crash. That's that then. 3 uses ignores the damage. The knife. Stabbity stab stab. It's 1 damage, 1-handed. Some of these are in like a lot of the sets. A list of things in the holy shit, follow me. Amelia roll of dice. For 1 to 2, supply cage. 3 to 4, receiving area. 5 to 6, manager's office. Reveal all item cards in the associated item deck, keeping their order the same, and then discarding this card, so at least you know what is in which area. The hard hat. Please keep your hard hat on at all times. Find a random final health token on this card. When you reveal the final health token, you may also reveal this one and choose 1 to resolve. Item is not considered in your backpack, but the card may be kept there. The power drill. Tool or weapon. 1-handed for 1 damage. You may discard a power drill to unlock an exit space you are on. The whip. What kind of operation are they running here? 0 to 1 range, 1 damage, and 1-handed. If you are damaging an enemy with the whip, you may move them 1 space. The bowling ball. Mass time acceleration equals 1 need to get up on those racks. And someone drew a face on the bowling ball. 2-handed. Discard during action phase will, in a rack space, deal 3 damage to an enemy in an adjacent space. Ooh. Now, I don't have the followers here, but the one did extra damage by not using items, or using item cards. So that'd be kind of cool, but I'll do 5 damage with that. Bolt cutters. Timers be damned. Ignore a damage or unlock this exit space you are on. It has 2 uses. So that's kind of nice. You can run around and unlock some spaces. First aid kit. Accidents do happen around here. Every time you use an action card to recover health, recover an additional health. We have the plank token. This gives us a little board here. Double-sided, bloody board. Don't look down. Place the plank token so it's touching 2 different rack spaces. These spaces are now considered adjacent, and victims panicking from either space will always move to the other. It'd be neat if you had a way to like pick it up and move it. Like you pick it up and you can place it back down, but that's fine. 44 Magnum. Do you feel lucky? Gooey punk. 1 to 2 range. Does 1 damage for 1 hand. The 44 Magnum cannot modify the weaker attack action. We have the chainsaw, which is we saw upgraded version for the one final girl. Battery powered ones don't last long. This does 3 damage, takes 2 hands, and has 2 uses. The chainsaw may not be used to modify reaction cards. We use a chainsaw, add the stop effect to the end of the action result. Oh, so cool. So we did see with the other one. I'm not going to pull it back though, it's a comparison, but you have to take 2 damage to put on your 1 hand, like Evil Dead style. But I think it only did 2 damage instead of 3. But the fact that it's 1-handed, so you could use an extra thing, and it didn't have uses or make you stop. The 2-way radio. Don't ask questions, just do it. 4 uses. Used to move a victim 1 space into the cost of time. May not be using the same victim more than 1 single turn. And our last one is we have odds and ends, which we get some little tokens for that, which makes sense. We're in a warehouse. We're going to find product. Which traps you want, each traps you'll get, asshole. 3 uses. You may place a booby trap token on any space, once per space, during the action phase. An enemy enters a space with a booby trap, discard the trap, and the token takes 2 damage. Cool. Makes sense. You're able to do stuff like that in the warehouse. Alright, then we have our terror cards. So we have a click card. If any effect causes this card to be discarded, unlock the exit as described below, but do not apply the other effects. The main entrance is now unlocked. Draw the next terror card. We have click any effects card to discard. Unloading dock A is now unlocked. Draw an event card, then draw the next terror card, and then unloading dock B is unlocked. Draw an event, draw the next terror card. They were pushed. Choose one. Move and attack. All victims in the rack space panic. After panic, they are no longer in rack space. They fall to their deaths and are killed. Yeah. I think I saw the killer. Horror. Target a victim. Move and attack. Let's open up some of these boxes. You may roll a die for each unused item card that was set aside during setup. Timer for each card you choose. Roll 1. 1 to 4, do not reveal the item. It remains out of the game. 5 to 6, reveal and take the item. Will be safer up there. All victims adjacent to panic. Rack spaces panic. Target 1, move and attack. And the killer could be anywhere. Horror for each space between you and the killer. Max 3. Do not count your space or the killer's space. So, Final Girl, move and attack. Cool. Alright, and then the last thing we have to look at is we have the little forklift miniature. My forks are a little bit bent, but yes, they're definitely cool. Also nice that you can always use the vehicles as well for the zombie vignette. So yeah, that's very cool set. So yeah, here's the map again. Very interesting. So yeah, that is the Marrek Warehouse and Tormentor set. Yeah, so the killer I think is very interesting. So again, they don't come out, then you have little extra challenges to do, but they're not actively hunting you too terrible. So you're kind of more trying to deal with them traps than you are trying to get, but you still have to kill the killer, and they still are coming after you. They're just not as pursuing as some of the other ones. And then the warehouse is going to be very interesting with one being all the doors are locked, so you can't rely on just getting exits out. You have to either wait for time or find items, stuff to unlock them. But also the movement is going to be very interesting because since you can't just go to any single space and you kind of have to go around the board and around all the racks unless you get the things that let you go up on them, but then you have to spend additional cards to do that. Yeah, that could make dealing with different killers a little bit more difficult. Even then, just in the context of this, is depending on where them traps are that you have to deal with, you might have to like run all the way around if you don't have time to get, you don't want to discard your sprint card to move 3 spaces. You might need to, climb up over a rack or get around. I do wish there was some sort of mechanic with you being up high, like the victim or like the killer has to spend one of their extra movement to get up there. That would have made more sense as well. Like they have 2 movement, but I can see why they didn't, because there are some killers that only have cards that say move 1, so that means they'd never be able to climb up on the racks. So that could definitely make them invalid. You just sit up on the rack, so you never have to worry about them. You can just basically sit down and shoot at them with a gun or something. So I get it. Alright, that's what we have for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out all the rest of Series 3. See you guys later. Bye.